There's no doubt that the first responders to the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history are American heroes. They put themselves in a traumatic situation in order to save lives and recover bodies. Now, one of those police officers who was a first responder was Gerry Realin. And apparently, what he experienced after that shooting and during the effort to recover bodies was so traumatic that he's been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, as a result, he has been petitioning to get workers' comp in order to pay for some of the mental health treatments that he needs. But unfortunately, because of the way the laws are written in Florida, he's unable to get workers' compensation because it doesn't cover mental health issues. It only covers physical injuries. Now, the officer said the tragedy, the largest mass shooting in U.S. history, has haunted him. Realin can't drive by the club without having a panic attack and still sees the bloodshed, all the red, everywhere he goes. He says, "There was just that smell that saturated my whole body, my hair, my skin, my whole respiratory system." His wife says when he got home 2:30 the next morning, he came in very quiet, looked at both of our kids, then went in the shower and just lost it. And he didn't stop crying. The next day, it was on and off, and it's just been really hard. So apparently he hasn't been able to recover from it, understandably so, and he's just looking for some compensation to help pay for his mental health treatment, which, by the way, is extremely expensive, as we all know.
But under Florida law, those who experience psychological trauma on the job are not entitled to paid days off or to have their medical bills reimbursed by their employer. So I'm curious what the right-wing reaction to this is going to be. So we were told this is ISIS, and in reality it wasn't. He just said, I'm kind of doing it for ISIS, but he had been dating people from the club, he was closeted gay, and was bitter that he'd been rejected by some of the people at the club, et cetera, and he's a guy who grew up in America. But okay, well, we were told that this was like a terrorist attack, and it was the worst mass shooting we've ever had, right? And this is a cop.
Yes.
But boy, I mean, a cop that responds to this kind of terrorist action, they should have his back, right?
Immediately. I mean, they should be supporting him and fighting for him and helping to raise money for him. But I haven't heard anything. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe some conservatives have been talking about this and have been, urging people to change the laws in Florida or to help raise money for him. Now, his family set up a GoFundMe page, which I want to share with you guys in case you want to donate to him and his family so he can get the treatment that he needs. Let's take a quick look at graphic 20. That's the GoFundMe page. They have a goal of raising $50,000. So far, they've raised just under $6,000. But just imagine how traumatic that experience is, right? Where 49 people have been gunned down in a club, and you spend your time helping to recover those bodies, and you get no help to make sure that you're mentally sound after that terrible experience.
Look, in the old days, I would have been less open to this because I would have thought, okay, but A, that's your job, and I think that's a fair point, okay, still today. B, I would have thought, I don't think that would have been my reaction. But now I think, wait a minute, how do I know? When's the last time I carted out 49 dead bodies?
That's right.
And that smell stayed with me. And whenever as he says, when he drives by there, he remembers all the blood everywhere as he was carrying out the bodies. I never lived that. I don't know. And I have no idea how I would react. And even more importantly, how I would react is not the determinative factor.
Exactly.
Everybody reacts differently. So here's a cop, a first responder who showed up, who carried out those bodies and was there to save people, help people, etc. And he has this issue. So look, I think it should be taken seriously because it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about his reaction.
Here's what I want conservatives to understand. You can't point to the need for funding for mental health care, and you can't emphasize the importance of mental health care only when it suits you when people are talking about gun control, okay? Show that you actually care about mental health care when a cop, the same cops that you say you value and you want to protect and you believe their lives matter, make sure you protect this cop and give him the mental health care that he needs to make sure he's okay, right? Mental health care for them is just a convenient issue that they'll bring up whenever there's a mass shooting and, they're are some calls for gun control. But other than that, they don't really care about it. They don't really support it. They don't want to do what's necessary to change the laws to ensure that people like this cop are protected.
Yeah, and so look, I got no skin in this game. I don't know the guy, and so you want to donate to him, don't donate to him. Hey, that's your business, man. I have no opinion on that. And in terms of Florida law, should psychological care and trauma on the job be paid for under all circumstances? I don't know about all circumstances, but we should have a real discussion about that and a real debate as to when cops, first responders, etc., suffer understandable psychological trauma, and maybe we should pay for some of the counseling, right? And I think that's fair. If their fellow cops got shot, they saw somebody else get shot, etc., or their EMS. And you might say, look, hey, that's their job. Yes, but that doesn't mean that we get to be jerks to them. Like, maybe that's their job, and let's help them out, because sometimes their job is horrible. And so we just want to take it seriously, and there should be a real debate in Florida as to whether this should be provided for all the people in this category. And his is a very understandable case to us. We hope it's understandable to everybody, especially the guys who used #BlueLivesMatter.